Thank you so much for having me here today. It's an honor to share some of the amazing work we have going on here in the city of Los Angeles. But first, I want to introduce our panelists here today. We have Enrique Loyola, the co-founder of On The Go LA. We also have Lucia Torres, executive director of Fotos Project. We have Jamiah Hargins, founder of Crop Swap LA. And Romel Pascual, executive director of CivLAvia. So we're going to start off this panel with, what the name of this panel is titled, How Our Organizations Help LA. So very quickly, if you could, can you tell us briefly about your work and how it positively impacts the region? We'll start with Romel.
Test. There you go. It works. Good morning or morning. Good morning, everyone. Let's just get the energy back up. Good morning. And let me first start by saying thank you to LA2050 and Tara and the team for putting this on, because this is an amazing place. We're outside in Los Angeles, which to me is the best city in the entire world. So let's start there. So thank you, Tara and team, and foundations who are supporting this wonderful effort of the LA2050 Challenge. So the question is, how is our organization helping Los Angeles? And who's heard of CivLAvia? Can I get show of hands? Okay, good. So what we do is we essentially take cars off of the road in a region that's known for its cars. Let's start with some numbers. We have 10 million people in the region, 88 cities in the county, 120 neighborhoods in the city of Los Angeles. And so what do we do to help LA, and what do we do as an organization? We make this region a little smaller. We have in any CivLAvia event, we have probably 50% of the zip codes of the county represented at any one CivLAvia. 80% of the zip codes represented from the city of LA represented in one CivLAvia. This makes up, essentially 75% of the population. So what do? We make this huge, dynamic, diverse, wonderful, energetic, all the things we love about Los Angeles in 3D. So this is what we do. We make the communities to come together. We make ourselves be tourists in our own city.
How can I top that, right? But anyway, thank you so much, for the invite to this panel, and I think it's a great day to be an Angelino, right, for all of us to be here. So, so On The Go LA, it's been a crazy journey from the start of the pandemic. So who we are is basically we're a food truck rental service that provides daily rentals for local food entrepreneurs in LA County. So my business partner Gabriel, who cannot be here, and I started this in response to the pandemic. We saw a lot of food entrepreneurs, a lot of restaurants struggling to make ends meet, and they were closing down. And so for us, without any food experience, we just decided to venture into this new world and decided to ask ourselves, how come food trucks aren't being rented out on a daily basis, right? You're looking at $10,000 starting cost or operating costs to get your own truck for 6 months to 1 year. For us, it's as low as $350 a day. Right, so we take care of the logistics. We market them using our Instagram and Facebook pages. We help them democratize. We help them elevate their brand and also democratize this access. Right, so we've worked with over 100 food entrepreneurs over the past 2 years, and we're looking forward to working with more in the foreseeable future. Thank you.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Jamiah Hargins. I'm so excited to be here. My organization is called Crop Swap LA. If you haven't heard of us, what we do is we grow food on unused spaces in ways that capture and recycle rainwater, create local distribution of that food within 1 mile, and hire locals to run that operation. We now have 2 micro farms in Los Angeles, and I'm excited that ever since the LA2050 competition, it was, I believe, 2020 for us that we got 50K. We've been featured in Time Magazine, front page of LA Times, and all of these other great journalists have seen our work and just put it out into the world because of the hyper-local impact, actually. And the question here is, how are we impacting Los Angeles? We're showing that you can grow food in a water recycling and water conscious manner, such that we've been able to secure turf removal rebates for our homeowners that had those microfarms installed. So instead of putting succulents in, which is cool, hey, I'm not hating on it, you just can't eat that thing, right? So we're excited that we've gotten a turf removal rebate. And I'm also excited to announce that Crop Swap LA is now enabled with SNAP, the Supplemental Nutritional Access and Assistance Program. Thank you, yes. So the food that we grow out of the front yards are in a CSA format, so people sign up for a monthly fee and get a bag every week. Now folks who are low income can have equal economic access as the rest of us. We have a team of 25 people at Crop Swap LA. So I want to make a point that we hire folks who are really passionate about this work, but also people who think of it as a career. Gardening is traditionally seen as like a cute get-together and it's social, and I'm not hating on that either, but we're really here to grow food and increase the food supply so that when in times of crisis, Los Angeles can rely on its inherent network of micro farms in its inherent garden districts, which is the vision I have, that in 15 years or so we have at least 400 of these micro farms around Los Angeles sustaining its infrastructure. We have solar power for all of our pumps. We collect all the rainwater from the gutters and use in-ground reservoirs to irrigate the crops. And we use soil and nutrient-dense amendments in order to make sure everything stays organic and pest-free and the cruelty-free manners. So I hope I've answered the question. Look forward to sharing more with you guys. And thank you so much for supporting Crop Swap LA.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Glad to see you all here. Glad to see you all here. Hope to have more conversations with you all. My name is Lucia Torres. I'm the executive director at Las Fotos Project. If you're not familiar with our organization, our mission is to work with teenage girls and gender-expansive youth and to elevate their voices through photography for the benefit of themselves, their community, and their future careers. But, to address the question, I've been having a lot of conversations in the past few days that have also been making me also rethink what our mission is and exactly how that impacts our community and the youth that we work with. So we always talk about our work as self, community, and career. And in the past few days, I've been thinking about, in terms of self, it really is like the people that we're working with and the young women and gender-expansive individuals that we're working with. That self is identity, and also their identity in taking up space and offering that opportunity for them to take up space and for their voices to take up space and their bodies to take up space as well. And then, we talk a lot about communities, and we always talk about a community in terms of our youth advocating for their communities through their photography. But also advocating for the people that they're photographing, and telling their stories and telling your all stories. I mean, we're always at CivLAvia too, so it's great to see, see all the folks there and, people coming in with their families and things like that. So it's not just our youth telling their own stories, but it's telling all of your stories as well. And then in terms of career, it's really just changing the landscape of what we're looking at in the creative economy, which is one of the largest sectors, in Los Angeles that we're living in. It's great to be in LA, and it's great to be able to have access to some of these careers, but the reality is that some of our youth don't have access to this, And so we are very proud about being able to build out those access pipelines for our young people to, again, take up space in that way.
So I'm actually going to have you hold on to that mic. The pandemic was definitely a challenging time for everyone, businesses, I can only imagine nonprofit organizations, and any philanthropic work that has been going on in the city of Los Angeles. So for the Las Fotos Project, how have you guys continued to innovate the programs that you guys have?
Yeah, we are, I think, in a constant state of innovation. I feel like every day there's something new that comes up. But, speaking of the pandemic, when the pandemic hit, us as an arts organization and also as a photography organization, all of our programming was hands-on. When you teach a young person how to use a camera, you have to literally show them how to use that camera. And the pandemic hit just within 2 weeks of our programming starting. So it was really difficult for us to think about, how are we going to change this around? And in us trying to think about that, we were hearing a lot from our young people about how they were being impacted. Their families were being impacted. Their families were losing their jobs. They were losing their lives. They were their entire reality was turned upside down. And so in that moment, we had to stop and say, well, we can't just be a photography organization. We are a youth organization, and we have to be a youth organization. So we focused a lot on, supporting our youth with mental health, connections, and resources. We worked with a lot of community organizations to gather resources for groceries and, mutual support in that way. And that carried through into the work that we're doing now. And the reason why I share that is because all of that came from our young people. They said it out loud, this is what we need. And that's just how we continue to do our work, is when young people tell us this is what we need, then that's what we do. And so that's how our work continues to evolve. And one of the things that our young people have said recently about this is what we need is, going back to what I was saying initially, is that continued access to careers and coaching. And so now one of our newest initiatives that we're launching is called the Creative Career Center, where we are expanding the young people that we're working with, so that we can provide women and gender expansive individuals between the ages of 19 to 24 creative career coaching, specifically focused, on photography and their creative careers. And again, that came from the voices of the people that we serve, and that's how we started doing our work in the pandemic, and that's how we'll continue to do our work moving forward.
Amazing. So my next question is for Enrique, for On the Go LA. Your program has really helped, local chefs get access to food trucks. And I wanted to talk a little bit with you about if you could share with us how you solved the problem that's facing those local chefs in obtaining those food trucks. And also, how did that impact your business and vision as well with the pandemic and everything that happened?
Yeah, that's a great question. Initially, our concept was more like the roaming food truck, like an ice cream truck, when we first started this venture, because that was just more of the response based from chefs, you can't go in, dine in during the pandemic due to restrictions. But due to the logistical aspects, we decided to pivot and kind of give our food partners the opportunity to take it where they need to. Right. And so at the end of the day, we realized that we need to give our food partners the autonomy and also give them some sort of education how to use a food truck. Right. And then for them, they're going to be successful. And then also for us, providing them the marketing and the marketing aspect of it, connecting them with different events and so forth. As of right now, since we kind of passed by COVID already, I think we made some pivots so far, such as providing our food entrepreneurs more opportunities to be in more established events, such as Levitt Pavilion in MacArthur Park. We've had a good amount of food entrepreneurs stay there over the summer and actually sell their food and actually maximize their revenue there. And so, we're actually asking our food partners so many different questions and trying to get feedback, since the food industry is such a evolving industry, and we want to make sure that we're on top of it and we're in first place there.
I mean, LA is the city of food trucks, right? I think I just realized there was special parking lots for food trucks to park in overnight. That was for a story I did a few months ago. And I was like, wow, you don't even think about those things. Where do the food trucks go at night?
Yeah, exactly.
But, okay, so the next question is for Romel. For CivLAvia is, a family-friendly Sunday recreation event. So we know it's a great place and time for people to get together with their families, but it's also a 10 years long proof of concept for the betterment of Los Angeles. Is that something that we can integrate into the city of Los Angeles going forward?
Yes. Let's try. I'm looking at our wonderful supervisor. Yes, we can integrate that as a permanency in the region. It's interesting because when you think about, for me, March 19th, 2020, which was that day I told staff it's time to work from home, was really a moment where it made us think that what will our future look like? Here we are, an organization that brings together 100,000 people. One time in a space, and you look at it and you see people, and people became a group of people. A picture of groups of people became something we didn't want to see during that time. And, now we can't wait to have that to happen again, and obviously in very safe and COVID mindful interactions. But the thing that I can't see CivLAvia going away because we should have gone away in a time when we weren't on the ground for 25 months. And so what did we do? We realized that, we have a platform that is for everyone. You look at CivLAvia, it's not just for certain ages, genders, policy wonks in different areas of environment, economy. It's everyone. It gives a common denominator of issue. It's a party with a purpose, if you think about anything else. It's the happiest protest that we can ever go to, right? And so what does that mean? What is our responsibility knowing that we have that kind of megaphone? And it's to elevate everyone else. Every one of our partners, during that time, we used our voice, in that time it was social, to elevate what they were doing. Because we realized that if we can't, what's the saying? High tide raises all ships type of thing. We said, let's just do it. We're an organization that just doesn't talk, we kind of do. So let's just do it. And so that's kind of what, part of what I see CivLAvia doing and why it's going to continue is that it's a behavioral change kind of approach. We can do things, mitigation, shut down factories that pollute, talk about climate resiliency and work to reduce air emissions. But the other side of the coin is behavior change. What do we do as individuals? And so that's what we hope CivLAvia does, and I know that that's what it does. We do it on a Sunday. What do you do on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday? How do you see the streets that you are on? And we're not anti-car. Let me just start there. We're not anti-car. But what do you do when you're driving in a car on the same street? You're a lot more mindful. That's what we do. Behavior change in partnership with everybody. When I say everybody, it's everybody. It's an ecumenical approach, common denominator for all, and that's what we do, and that's how we're going to stay.
Wonderful work that you guys are doing. I have to say I am more conscious of bicyclists when they're on the road because sometimes they're in the middle of the lane, sometimes they're on the side. I have to figure out how to get around them. But, okay, so my next question is for Jamiah and Crop Swap. Last year, Crop Swap won LA2050's Grant Challenge. It was one of the first grants your organization won. How has that impacted your organization, and how has it changed what you guys do today?
Thank you. Well, I think it gave it a lot of credibility and showed that the problem is larger than we thought it was. And the we is the leadership. If you find yourself a leader in your community and your family and your work, then you noticed that we had a food issue before the pandemic, folks. It was a pre-pandemic problem. And so, since then, we've gotten enough attention that I think for leaders, considering solving your people's food problems should be a priority. It's an easiest common denominator solution to a community's problems by providing them with their own food sufficiency and environmental balance. But at the same time, it can be trendy. I understand there's some stars who've retweeted us and Hollywood's next door and it's a spectator city, right? But what Crop Swap LA has shown, and with the partnership of the grant and those who've worked with us, is that talk is cheap, but action gets things done. So we got out there and took some risks with the money. We had to take off the grass of a front yard, in a beautiful front yard of a home, which I'm proud to share with you. The homeowner, now an employee with us, is here with us, Michael Creer. Please give him a hand. He took the risk with me on the very first step to literally hack the grass away and begin digging in-ground swells. We hadn't proven the concept yet. There's complete reputational risk, even though no one knew me from anything back then. But the fact that we're in a beautiful neighborhood doing something that we believe makes sense, with it not being proven yet, is hopefully an example to others, also in the room or listening online or on TV, that if you have a hunch and if you have a little bit of steam in your engine, go for it. You'll find support. The universe is going to support you. And I found that to be a consistent thread along this experience. So, what we do here is, yes, raise awareness. Our focus first, of course, is to raise the food supply. So the more front yard microfarms, the more other orchards or other designs we're putting together that we're going to tell you more about later on soon, the better. So thank you for supporting us.
So I'll let you hold on to the mic. This is a question for everyone on the panel. So when dealing with huge issues such as climate change or public transportation, it can feel that these are problems that might be too big to solve. How does your organization measure your impact, and why is that important for you? And one more. What is the LA your organization wants to see?
I'm glad I have the mic first. When we took off the grass of our first front-yard microfarm, we noticed that the water difference in watering the grass went down by 92% as opposed to using our system to grow food. So with only 8% of the water, we were providing food for 30-plus families on a weekly basis. That should be the data that we collect, because we have one reservoir there, and it can be done in many different ways. So we look at our water use, we look at our food produced, the weight of it, including fruit that we harvest from people's backyards, like oranges, lemons, star fruit, grapes, plums. We've seen all kinds of cool things that you might not imagine are in people's backyards. We also measure the hyper-local aspect of our work as an important metric. So is the food only distributed within a mile, meaning cars and trucks didn't drive across the country and store things in refrigerators and like have to have that much infrastructure in order to get a meal to the family next door. And then economically, are the staff happy? I'm very proud about the workplace I'm creating at Crop Swap LA, that we offer our staff 2 home gardening days so that they can make sure they're growing food at home each year, to make sure that people are really invested in the movement that we're putting out here. So really, again, talk is cheap, and so the LA that I'm looking forward to seeing is leaders like those here who step forward and speak forward on food equity, environmental activism, and using water in a smart way, but also that those leaders who haven't yet stepped up really do see the confidence in me and see me and say, you know, something's possible and big and beautiful inside you. So you can do it. The university will help you, and that's the LA we're creating together. Thank you.
Yeah, so the environment. So I would say, have you guys ever heard of the phrase electric food truck? Yeah? So basically, that's the next step with us, right? You know, I mean, we're looking into that. I know that's going to come out. I know Roy Choi, who is like a prominent figure in the food industry, has been working with other organizations or companies there to launch the electric food truck, but we're looking into that as well, right? As of right now, we have 3 trucks right now, and all of them have solar panels, and so we're trying to reduce emissions there and make sure that we negate the generator, right? That's one specific aspect of the food truck that kind of creates pollution, right, within our truck, aside from having a regular truck just drive over to different places there. And so, yes, the food industry, there's a lot of opportunity just to modify it, evolve, right, along with the times, especially since society has become very, very pro-environment, right, pro-climate change and so forth. And so as of right now, that's what we're looking at right now. But clearly it takes time, and that's why I expect leaders like us, right, to be persistent and patient. That's going to take some time, and as long as we all get together and have like-minded ideas, we'll be able to achieve that, hopefully before 2050, right?
I have one more question for you. Do you think we have enough infrastructure to support having electric food trucks? Because they're going to be traveling everywhere.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look at the electric cars right now, right? That has become such a hot demand nowadays that, you know, when you think about food trucks, food is such a never-ending commodity, right? It should be a privilege for everyone in this world. And so when you think about food trucks, I'm like, it's a no-brainer to have electric food trucks. So, of course, I mean, I could expect so many different organizations, different companies out there to invest in this new model, of course.
Let me answer that real quick. I used to work at DWP, and my work has been around energy for a long time. The answer is yes, infrastructure certainly is here for electrification and the expansion and storage. So you're going to see a city that's going to electrify, obviously, in a much, we want it to be expedited, but yes, infrastructure certainly is it's here.
Exciting times.
So back, I guess the original question. We don't necessarily do environmental work. Our youth cover that through their photography. But I think back to your original question about how do we measure impact or how do we see the impact? For us, one of our major goals, speaking of LA in 2050, is, like I mentioned before, to change the landscape of what the creative economy looks like, to have more women and gender expansive folks in these creative careers, to have more BIPOC women in these creative careers, for them to be the creative directors and for them to be the CEOs and for them to be, the leaders who are really shaping and molding what it is that we're seeing in the media, what it is that we're seeing with folks' stories, as they're coming out. But in terms of like how we're seeing the impact or how we're measuring that impact now, it's through in the same way that we do our work, which is through stories. Right now we have 4 of our alumni who are also now on our staff, which is for us, it's just really great to see them come in every day and like sit down. And it takes a little while once they become staff members for you to think like, oh, this is my peer, as my staff member, and they're now leading, initiatives within the organization. And for us, that's really great. But aside from that, it's, we have, for example, one staff member who's an alumni. Her name is Stephanie. She's our communications person. So you see our Instagram stuff right now, that's Stephanie. And she mentioned about how her first experience with Las Fotos Project was being part of our Digital Promotoras program, which is our community advocacy program through photography. And so she entered, she didn't have any photography experience, anything like that. She learned how to use a camera through us, all of that. But what she told us was through her experience in that, she realized that she wants to continue telling stories in some way. So now she's at Cal State Long Beach in her second year as a major in journalism because she wants to be a journalist. And that was something that was influenced by just her work, in our programs. And it wasn't necessarily that we were pushing for her to be a journalist. That's just something, that it inspired her. Another person that I can think of is Maria, our studio coordinator. I'm pointing to Helen over there with Las Fotos Project, works very closely with Maria. Maria is now coordinating all of our studio work, also an alumni, also just recently started at Art Center, got herself into Art Center because she wanted to study photography. But it's been through her work with photography and being hired as a photographer that she's been able to pay for her first year of college in Art Center, And so it's like those small stories that we're kind of seeing, yeah, this is, while, it may not be exactly photography related, there is an impact happening and there is inspiration happening within the youth that we're working with.
When you said journalist, that was music to my ears. So Romel, I think we heard from you earlier, but we didn't get our answer for this question.
Thank you. For us, it's frequency. You think about CivLAvia when it started, it was just one time a year. It was an experiment, and then it turned into something big. We measure it by where we go, how often, how many miles. But more importantly, we know that, we're going to be doing CivLAvia in different parts of the region monthly, which is huge because the extent of trying to do this work, we're nonprofit, as many of us are, all of us, most of us are here, and it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of resources. But then we're also very dedicated to doing this, and so we're really looking at going to many neighborhoods once a month, and we're talking 8, 9, 10 miles long. So you're going to see CivLAvia everywhere, which is going to be wonderful. But at the same time, we also measure it. We see the increase in public transit ridership by 50%. We see the reduction of harmful air pollutants by more than 50%. We see the increase of small business sales by more than 60%. If we were to measure, the thing that I want to start measuring is what does joy look like? How do you measure joy? If the UN has a happiness report that infuses throughout the work that we do, and that our metric is joy and happy. We look at cities and countries like Denmark and Netherlands, and they're so happy. Well, why? Because there's a metric to measure that. So let's imagine doing a metric of what that looks like, which is a very Los Angeles metric, because when I look around this room, this is a room that says we're going to do something for our city and our region, and we're going to do it together. That's a joyful act of inclusion. We can certainly bring folks together in a way to come together for a common purpose. And so that's what I hope 2050 will look like, is shared purpose, casual environments, talking about how we're going to save the world.
I think one of the most important things for everyone to do when we're thinking about how to bring LA forward is working together, communicating. Everyone is, as we can see from today's event, there's so many organizations working on different things and making LA better. But it's really when we come together that we can make a difference, right? Thank you for taking the time to come here and have those important conversations with everyone. I think we all are able to take something away and learn a little bit more about each of these organizations that you guys are running. So let's just give it up for our panelists.